Every one of us knows that at some level, our message could and should be simpler. We let our messaging get too bloated, and then in the meeting, we know that that's really hurting us. So how do you make your messaging simpler? I'm Tim Pollard of Aratium. Welcome to this week's messaging moment. And if you like this episode, at the end of it, there's a really valuable download I want to encourage you to grab. This week is about a challenge. I want to issue you a challenge, and I'm calling it the 5-slide challenge. You all know you want and need to simplify your messaging. This challenge is going to do it for you. In another video, an earlier video you might have seen, we talked about really understanding what's primary and secondary, focus on what's primary, dump secondary content into an appendix. That's a great foundation here. But here I want to talk about how do you lay out your primary content. As many of you might know, we particularly like, very tight, simple documents. We actually like kind of the bifold document approach. But most of you I know are very comfortable with slides. Your company culture is a slide culture. So you're going to do it in a slide deck. No problem. Here's the challenge. Do it in 5 slides. I personally believe that no presentation should really ever contain more than 5 to 7 slides. Now, to modify that, I think of that as about 5 to 7 slides per hour. If you're going to do a 2-hour meeting, then maybe 10 to 14 slides. But let's assume you're going to have a 30-minute to 1-hour sales conversation. I challenge you to boil your message to 5 slides. But that's not helpful if I don't tell you how to do it. Here is how you want to do it. The first slide, obviously, let's just assume there is a title slide, but I think it's very helpful on that slide to have a provocative question. Like, why do your teams have so much trouble collaborating effectively? That might be a great challenge question if you're selling Teams or WebEx or Zoom or something like that. So find that provocative question. But now really let's get into it, kind of the 5 substance slides. First slide, lay out your customer's problem. Like, you have this problem, it has these sort of subsidiary problem, and it has these impacts. You don't go into a ton of detail. What is the problem? How is it showing up? How does it hurt them? You're then going to say, well, therefore, with that problem on the table, how do we solve it? What would be the 2 or 3 big ideas that are the load-bearing ideas of your value proposition? An example we've used sometimes, some of you might be familiar with from other films, is a lighting solution for hospitals. The problem is, if you get lighting wrong, it can hurt nursing productivity and clinical outcomes and legal risk. What were the 3 big ideas? Well, firstly, a modern lighting solution will solve for all of this. A great lighting solution with UV balance and intelligent controls will completely solve for this. That would be great. Customer isn't going to buy off that, because what if it costs $1 billion? So the second big idea is solution has fantastic ROI. LED bulbs last forever. You never need to change them. And they're really low cost. And guess what? The government will pay for you to switch to this because it's more energy efficient. So the second big idea is this solution has incredible ROI. Does the customer yet feel they should buy? Well, this is great. These 2 ideas are great, but what if I have to shut the hospital for a year in order to install the solution? Well, guess what? I got you covered. The third big idea, our solution is non-disruptive. Great. Big idea number 1, you need this new lighting solution. It has fabulous ROI, and the solution is non-disruptive. So a 5th and final content slide would be, so what's the action? What are the next steps? How do we move forward? That is sort of the 5-slide challenge. You get the bonus title slide, but problem, insight, 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 action is a wonderful architecture. Now, will most of you be able to do this? No. But if that's the goal and you end up maybe with a couple of extra explanatory slides on this idea, or a couple of extra explanatory slides on this idea, if this is your goal and you end up with 7 slides, you know, how much better is that than the typical sort of 60, 70 slide deck that you see companies build? If you start at 5 and end up at 7, that's still a win. What most people do is they start at 60 and they end up at 40 and they think they've won, but they haven't, they've lost. So today's film is simply about issuing you a challenge. Can you go away and tell your story in these 5 slides? If you can, you win. If it's 7, you win. If it's 40, welcome to continuing to lose.